One day, I received the most important lesson of my life. It was a moment when I realized nothing would ever be the same again. Sometimes we go through moments that seem trivial at first, but turn out to be defining in ways we can't understand at the time. That moment was one of those, and I wasn't mature enough to comprehend it. She worked tirelessly to provide for me and my younger brother Ethan, without ever asking for help. I took it all for granted back then. I saw her sacrifices, but I couldn't fully appreciate them. To me, they were just part of the routine, something that happened without much thought or recognition. But the moment I saw her working one afternoon, my friend Jake, who was one of the most popular guys in school, invited me to his place. Everyone wanted to be his friend, and I was happy to be in his circle. Without hesitation, I agreed to come over and play video games. Jake's family lived in a fancy apartment building on the outskirts of the city, and I was excited to hang out. I left my house and started walking toward his building, unaware that what I was about to witness would change my entire perspective on life. As I approached the building, I saw a woman cleaning the stairs. I slowed down and paused for a second. Her clothes, her headscarf, they all looked familiar. And then I realized it was my mother. My heart dropped. I could barely breathe. I never thought I would see her like this, working as a janitor in one of the most affluent neighborhoods in the city. In that moment, I felt humiliated. I wasn't proud of her. I was embarrassed. How could I face her here, cleaning someone else's mess while I was about to play video games with my friends? I stood there, frozen, as I watched her scrub the stairs. I didn't know what to do. I felt a mix of shame and guilt. Instead of walking up to her, I avoided her gaze. I pretended not to see her. I kept my head down and rushed toward Jake's door, as if I didn't recognize the woman cleaning the stairs. I rang the doorbell and quickly went inside, trying to push away the unease that was slowly growing inside me. Inside, everything seemed normal. Jake greeted me with his usual enthusiasm, and we got started on our gaming session. Normally, I would have gotten completely absorbed in the game, losing myself in it. But that day, nothing felt right. I couldn't stop thinking about my mom. I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that she was outside, cleaning stairs in a building where I didn't think she belonged. I felt guilty. I felt like I had just witnessed a part of her life that I didn't want to see, and it made me uncomfortable. While playing, Jake casually mentioned his parents and how hard they worked to provide for him. I couldn't help but hear him, and something inside me snapped. I didn't want to talk about my mom. I didn't want to admit that the woman I was ashamed of was the same woman who had been giving everything for me. I simply said, "Yeah," in response, my mind elsewhere, still haunted by the image of her scrubbing the stairs. That day, all I could think about was how selfish I had been. How had I let my pride and ego stop me from appreciating my mom? I felt like I had just realized how wrong I'd been, but I couldn't take it back. As I made my way home, the guilt weighed on me more and more. I knew that when I got home, I'd face her again. How could I look her in the eye knowing what I had just witnessed? When I got home, my mom was there, as always. Her face showed signs of exhaustion, but there was a peace in her eyes that I couldn't ignore. It was at that moment that the full weight of what I had seen and how I had acted hit me. I had been ashamed of her, but in reality, I should have been proud of her strength. She had been doing everything to ensure that Ethan and I didn't have to worry. But I hadn't seen it. I had been blinded by my own pride. Just as I was about to retreat to my room, my mom called out to me. "Alex, come here for a second," she said, her voice light, as if she had no idea what was going through my mind. I went to her, and she led me to her room. With a smile, she opened her closet and pulled out a small package. "Did you forget today's special day?" she asked. I hadn't forgotten it was my birthday, but that day, it had almost lost all meaning to me. She handed me the package. "I got you a little gift," she said. I opened it, and inside was a brand new pair of sneakers. My old ones had been worn out and falling apart. I hadn't realized how badly they'd been until I saw the new pair in my hands. "I've noticed your old shoes were getting pretty worn out," she said softly. I saved up a little money from cleaning houses. It's not much, but it's enough to get you a new pair. I stood there, speechless. I felt a wave of guilt and remorse crash over me. My mom wasn't just a janitor. She wasn't just a woman cleaning floors to make ends meet. She was a hero. She was a woman who worked tirelessly, sacrificing everything for her children, and I had been too blind to see it. I had been too embarrassed by her work, not realizing that it was the work of someone who loved us more than anything in the world. I thanked her, but I knew those words weren't enough. They could never express what I felt. That day, my mother didn't just give me shoes. She gave me a lesson I would never forget. From that moment on, I knew I had to work hard, not just for myself but for her too. I had to make her sacrifices worth it. I finished high school, went to college, and started working. Throughout it all, I carried my mother's lessons with me, and whenever I doubted myself, I thought of her strength. When I finally landed my first job after college, I went to her and said, "Mom, you don't have to work anymore. I've got it from here." The pride in her eyes when she looked at me, the joy in her face, was the greatest reward I could ever ask for. It was the moment I fully understood what it meant to sacrifice for the people you love. My mom had done everything for us, and now it was my turn to do the same. Today, I work hard to take care of my own family, doing everything I can to make them happy. The lessons my mother taught me, the lessons of love and sacrifice, have become the most valuable inheritance of my life. Because, in the end, family, love, and sacrifice are the things that matter the most.